So here we're gonna see how to apply a basic parent constraint between two objects. So the goal of the parent constraint is to have one object, for example the sphere, control another object, here the cube. So firstly, we have to display the drop-down menu where the parent constraint is located. So it have to be set up as in animation mode, here, and then in the constraint drop-down menu, we have the parent constraint. So I'm going to open it with the toolbox to see all the options. Between all these options, the only one that will interest us is the maintain offset option. So the parent constraint is made so that the first object you select is the driver, the parent, and the second object you will select is the passenger, the child. So I selected the sphere first and then the cube. When I apply the constraint, we can now see that if I move the sphere, the cube is moving. If I move the cube, the sphere is not moving. So the sphere is the parent of the cube. Now, animation-wise, there is some subtlety to it. So I can animate the parent as I want. I'm making a basic animation to show you. We can see that during the animation the cube is following the sphere, no problem. But if I want to animate the cube, as soon as I add a key, we can see that a new attribute appeared that is named blend parent. This attribute controls the intensity of the constraint. Currently, it is set on 0. That means the constraint is no more active. If I play the animation, we can see the sphere is moving on its own. If I put the attribute on 1, now, just as before, the cube is following the sphere. It's important to note that, let me put that back to 0. If I move the cube somewhere, as soon as I put the attribute back to 1, the cube will go back to the position it was when it was parented to the sphere. The parent constraint only remembers the position at the moment where the constraint was made. That's the offset. That is the offset of the constraint. We cannot animate the cube when it is parented to the sphere. So if we want to animate it, we have to somehow do as we can to put the constraint back to 0, animate it when we want, where we want, and then put the constraint back to 1. To illustrate that, let's erase our little animation, and let's say we want the sphere to pick up the cube as it passes by. So we'll make a basic animation where the sphere first is far away and then passes by the cube. And I want, when the sphere is passing by the cube, that the cube starts following her. So, let's say from 30 to 40, we put the attribute to 1. And like so, when the sphere passes by, the cube starts following the sphere. And to remove a constraint, the best way is to, like before, select first the parent, then the child, and go to Constraint, Remove Target. And now, there is no more parent constraint on the cube and on the sphere. The maintain offset option is quite simple. The only thing it changes is that when we apply the constraint, it will or will not remember the offset between the two objects. So if, like before, we select first the sphere, then the cube, I apply the constraint, the cube is moving with the sphere, and the offset between them is maintained. I'll get rid of that constraint. If I do another one, but without the maintain offset, as soon as I click apply, the cube snaps to the sphere, and the sphere is making the cube move with her. And the same thing remains, as if we can animate the sphere without interfering with the cube. And if we animate the cube, we have to use the blend parent constraint to make him follow the sphere. That's all there is to it. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them to me or anyone in the chat. And happy animating! Bye guys!